This is truly a very unique opportunity to connect with leaders from different fields, as I mentioned. And I'd like to now invite Chris Cook to the stage. Chris Cook is a double Olympian swimmer. He is a motivational speaker, executive coach, who works with organizations like Microsoft, some of the top healthcare organizations across the globe. He's a consultant to the NHS in the UK, and truly a friend and a supporter of this event since its inception in 2022. He's going to inspire all of you, and I think you're going to feel like champions after you hear him speak. Chris, welcome to the 2025 Medical Innovation Olympics.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Tim. Okay, yeah, so my name's Chris Cook. I am two-time Olympian. I can boast being in an Olympic final alongside Michael Phelps, trying to get that one of his gold medals, his 8th gold medal. I was 2 lanes away, striving for the same thing. But that day, Lady Luck was on his side, not mine. And I walked away from the Olympics slightly empty-handed, but I left with a blueprint. The thing that I left the Olympics with was a blueprint that I now share far and wide around the globe, whether it's face-to-face or digitally here today. So I've just got 3 simple messages in this keynote. I'm going to keep things simple. If you get to know me, you know that's what I'm all about. Let's keep it simple, because that always leads to extraordinary action. So the 3 key messages before I get into the stories. The first one is confidence is built from evidence. When we ask the right questions and we get the right evidence in place and we measure what really truly matters in our businesses and in our teams, what ends up happening is we gain confidence. Now, we can't always see confidence, which is really interesting, but actually we can feel it. We can feel it. The next thing, when we're unclear, things become uncertain. That's going to be the second message. And I've got a story which is going to add to each of these points. But the flip side of that, which I'm going to challenge you as you go through this, is to think about getting super clear. Because when we get super clear on where we're going, where we're heading, not only can our team see it, they can also start to scaffold in certainty. And the last one, true teamwork starts when we feel truly safe for interpersonal risk taking. So creating a psychologically safe environment. And I've got a story which is related to the National Health Service, the NHS, a little bit later on in this session. But to start this off, my first story, when I was training to get to the Olympics, people would often say to me, "Oh, Chris, when you're on the blocks, you look so confident." Here's a picture of me diving in to the pool in Beijing 2008, just ready to start that race. And I would often get those comments. People say, "How do you stand there with such confidence? What is that inner knowing like?" And I would often answer them with various different ways and means. But actually, I got taught the true meaning of confidence in training in my worst year. I believe your tough years can be your best teachers. Your tough moments are the moments that you have to delve deep into your own philosophy and really check and challenge it. In 2006, I had a really bad start to the season. Training wasn't going well. No competitions were going my way. It felt like I couldn't find my stroke, is what we call it in swimming, is where you just don't feel yourself in the water. I turned up for one early morning training session at 5 o'clock in the morning at Newcastle, up in the northeast of England, a freezing cold morning it was, and it was a freezing cold pool I was about to get into. And the coach pulled me to one side. He was called Ian. He said, "Look, Chris, I understand this season's not going the way you want it to go just yet." He said, "But I've been having some thoughts and I've got an idea, and it's going to start today if you're up for it." He said, "Every single session we do on a Tuesday morning, we're going to scaffold in 20 100-meter repeats at a certain standard, but we're going to measure 4 key areas. We're going to measure your heart rate, we're going to measure your stroke rate, we're going to measure your time, and we're going to measure the perceived exertion, the rate of perceived exertion. How out of 10, how hard do you think the session is?" So I started off with that session. I agreed to it, and we started off that session. And I'll be honest with you, I was really skeptical. We started measuring all of these things that did matter. However, it just wasn't going well. Second week, third week in, we were repeating the same session time and time again until week 4. something really interesting in week 4 happened. Every week I was challenged to beat the average from the previous week. And this was the first week that actually I started to beat the average. What started a shift from week 4, which was little to my knowledge in that moment in time, I stopped focusing on the end result and started becoming obsessed with the process. We started to measure what matters. We set those markers in place. And week by week, I started to get obsessed with progress. By week 8, the confidence I had was through the roof. Now, what was interesting was at the end of that cycle of 8 weeks, I raced and I was no faster. However, my confidence went through the roof. At the end of that season, I became double Commonwealth Champion. I became World Bronze Medalist, and I posted a time, 5th fastest time in world swimming history in that moment in time. So what was the difference? Well, here it is. Confidence was built on evidence. I was staring at the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be, which was a year down the line. Instead, I started to focus on, through the help of my coach and the people around me and the people in my team, focus on that moment right in front of us and become obsessed with the process. It wasn't only a game changer for that season, it became a blueprint for the rest of my career. And I've been really passionate about getting out there and sharing this with athletes. In 2009, I retired from the Olympics. My last ever race was the Olympic final alongside Michael Phelps. And I started working with various different organizations around the world. I feel really lucky. But one in particular, which was really close to my heart, is Team GB. And I started working on a program called the Ambition Program. Now, the Ambition Program is a really simple concept and quite an innovative concept, actually. And it all stems from a conversation related to some statistics. Somebody did a research paper within Team GB and realized that less than 8% of first-time Olympians medal. So somebody who was really bright amongst that group said, well, hang on a second. What makes it so different from the World Championships? Because the stats in the World Championships for first-time people racing is much higher than 8%. What makes the Olympics so special? And the answers that came out were quite eclectic. It's a massive competition. It's a global spectacle for everybody to see. There's a village to live in with 10,500 athletes and support staff. It's this crazy media attention that goes on. It's the build-up. It's the excitement amongst the 3 weeks that you're there. And you just feel part of something that is almost untouchable, but you can definitely feel it. So we decided to start to run a bit of a pilot to take athletes who we thought in 4 years' time would be able to make it and stand on podiums. And we took them to that Olympics 4 years beforehand to get some experience. They couldn't compete, but they could go and have a little look at the village, have a little look at what it's like in the accommodation block. They could get on the buses and check out what it's like to go from the village to the venues and the mayhem that can ensue and often the long waiting times. They got to eat in the village alongside Usain Bolt and some phenomenal athletes. They got to see how crazy busy it was for the queue at the pizza kiosk. They got to watch some of their best athletes on the planet go from zero to hero overnight. We even give them experience of what it's like to be in front of the world's media and do some mock interviews. But more importantly, we give them the chance to be part of that one Team GB. Now, what was fascinating about this is now we're several years on and we've had several programs, and I feel really lucky to lead on this program. We've now got an alumni starting to build. 307 athletes have been through the program since 2008. 113 support staff have also been through the program because it's to help grow the base of the sports. And 40% go on to represent Great Britain. Great stats. However, it was started because we wanted to convert medals. And that's what it did. 11% of people who went through the program went on to stand on a podium within their first time of their Olympics. So what's the message here? Well, the message is when we get really clear, we start to level up certainty. That's what happens when we start to measure what matters, which was in the previous comment. But when we get really clear and we ask better questions, we get better answers. My coach always used to say that to me: ask it, answer it, and action it. It's what we do with that third one that starts the scaffolding, certainty. Now, the last story I'd like to share with you is one really close to my heart as well, right here, right now, is as Tim mentioned earlier on, I've started working with, and have done for a while, working with companies all around the world, but I work alongside some staff at the NHS, which I'm really proud of, the National Health Service, and a few trusts around the country. And a couple of years ago, I was in a meeting and I was talking about some of the work that I could do with a couple of their teams. And one nurse said, do you know, she said, if I was to choose my team, looking around my team right here, right now, I wouldn't choose it if I was kind of picking one like a football team type of thing. I would bench some of mine. And I thought, wow, what an interesting thing to say. So I said to her, I said, oh, what made you say that? How come you said that? She said, do you know what? They're really, really skilled. I just don't know if I 100% trust them. We decided to run a bit of a program. It took a little while to get off the ground. We decided to run a program on two key areas. One, creating psychological safety, so people felt safe to be able to share, contribute, challenge within the team. It was only a small team. And the next thing we scaffolded in was radical candor, being able to say what you mean without being mean, show you care, and keep the challenge there, because so many people kept the challenge themselves, including that nurse who first came to us and said that. And it was extraordinary. In less than 18 months, not only did that kind of work influence and affect that department, it also started to spread, because people started to go, well, what's happening over there? And isn't it incredible when we start to create something that we know is phenomenal, but other people don't see it, but when they do, they start to replicate it. Because my last message, teamwork thrives on psychological safety. If you want to be truly innovative, if you want to create that space where there's no such thing as a silly question or a silly comment, what you actually create there is an opportunity for people to bring their authentic selves. There's nothing better. So, just to wrap up, my 3 key messages today. I really hope you've enjoyed the keynote. I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. If you've got any questions, I'm going to be dipping in and out of this as we go over the next week or so, which I'm really excited about. The first one is confidence is built on evidence. What evidence can you create that will level up your confidence? I've written this in the negative, but if we could flip the script, when we are unclear, things become uncertain. My challenge to you is, how can you get clearer so that actually people lean in with certainty? And the last one is, true teamwork starts when we are safe for interpersonal risk taking and challenge. I want to say thank you so much for having me involved yet again this year. I feel truly, truly blessed and really lucky to get the chance to come along and share just some short stories. And I hope it's inspired and made the difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris, again, for supporting this event. Please stick around. There may be questions from others. Will you have time a little bit later to stay? Yes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. And also at 12 o'clock, we're going to have breakout rooms where we're going to really get to know each other. One of the breakouts is Olympic sports. So feel free. If you have time, you're absolutely invited.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim.